strike was going nowhere. Growers bust in non-union workers to pick the grapes and break the strike. As the harvest wound down, the union was almost broke, and Chavez was losing hope.
In the crop season, there is a period where everything is germinating. The vines have been pruned, they've been de-leafed, it's been irrigated. Now you got to wait for the new crop to kick in. And so there's the dead season, what the farm workers call invierno chiquito, the little winter. That was a dangerous time for the union because there are no workers in the field.
Chavez was beginning to believe the strike could never be won in the fields. He desperately wanted to bring the movement into the national spotlight.
Caesar came up with this brilliant idea of marching to Sacramento.
In the manner of Martin Luther King, who garnered media attention leading a march through Alabama in 1965, Chavez would lead a 300-mile pilgrimage from Delano to the state capital, passing through farm workers' towns along the way.
Caesar said it's going to be a march of penitence. And the workers said, well, we don't have anything to be penitent about. I mean, the growers are the ones that are doing everything wrong. And he said, no, I want everybody to think of something that you've done, some gossip maybe, some fight that you had. Think of your own things in your own life.
It was a pilgrimage. This was a spiritual pilgrimage. It was an attempt to suggest to the workers and others, this was going to be a long struggle.
As he planned for the march, Chavez's faith was being tested. Striking workers were subjected to physical and verbal attacks from growers, who seemed to have law enforcement in their pocket. On March 16, 1966, with the situation threatening to explode, the Senate Subcommittee on Migratory Labor held hearings in Delano.
The fact that somebody makes a report about somebody's going to...
As news cameras rolled, Senator Robert Kennedy grilled the local sheriff on his practice of arresting peaceful demonstrators.
Who told you that they're going to riot?
The men right out in the field that they were talking to said, if you don't get them out of here, we're going to cut their hearts out. So rather than let them get cut, you remove the cause.
This is a most interesting concept, I think. How can you go arrest somebody if they haven't violated the law?
They're ready to violate the law. In other words...
Could I suggest from the luncheon period of time that the sheriff and the district attorney read the Constitution of the United States?
The farm workers have suffered in our society over the period of the last 30 years, and that situation has to be changed.
Chavez set out the very next morning, along with 100 farm workers, to begin his pilgrimage through California's San Joaquin Valley.
Caesar, either by design or by accident, ended up becoming symbolic of the penance part because he had some boots that injured his feet. Turned out to be the worst idea for the march. He was visibly in anguish, which made for great pictures. A living Caesar suffering on the road.
As they traveled north, passing through town after town, their numbers grew.
De huelga ya están bien cuando el picket sign. Lo llevo por todo el día, el picket sign. Conmigo toda la vida.
As a Catholic, Chavez understood the power of symbols to instill a deep personal commitment to the movement and attract public attention. They flew the Union Eagle, a symbol of Mexican pride, and the Virgin of Guadalupe, the Virgin Mary as a brown-skinned Mexican Indian, signified for many the righteousness of what was now being called La Causa, the cause. After 25 days, their numbers had swelled from a few dozen to an army of thousands. On Easter Sunday, 1966, the state capitol was finally in sight.
When we got to Sacramento, there were 10,000 people marching across the Sacramento River with us over the bridge. And it was people power. This was a demonstration of democracy.
Governor and the legislature of California, we say you cannot close your eyes and your ears to us any longer. You cannot pretend that we do not exist. You cannot plead ignorance to our problems because we are here and we are not alone.
With public sympathy mounting and the spring growing season upon them, growers finally agreed to meet with union representatives.
Farm workers of the state of California.
Dolores Huerta became the lead negotiator. And it was unprecedented because here was a Mexican-American woman negotiating with the growers and taking them on.
She's an excellent negotiator. She can break things down and can also stand her ground at an intellectual level and argue points, with lawyers.
They hated her. They called her the Dragon Lady. They wished they were negotiating more with Caesar than with Dolores.
It would take years of negotiations and a national boycott for Huerta and Chavez to secure higher wages, safer working conditions, and an end to child labor. But the march to Sacramento was a turning point. It led to the first farm worker contracts in American history. And for Mexican Americans, it was only the beginning.
Viva la huelga.
The rise of Cesar Chavez as a national figure began a fundamental shift in Mexican American identity. Before Chavez, most Mexican American leaders came from upper-class families and tended to be light-skinned, European-looking, traits that were prized by many in the Latino community.
Our elders, when there was a new baby, and they say, ay, qué bonito, mira, qué chulo, mira qué ojos azules, qué güerito. And then we'd hear, pobrecito, mira qué indio salió. So, say, look at that pretty baby, it's got blue eyes, it's so white, it's so pretty. And then the other baby, another cousin in the family, too bad, man, he came out dark, he looks like an Indian. There was a self-hate that was embedded in that.
But after Cesar Chavez, some of those prejudices began to erode.
He had become pretty much a national icon. And we loved him because he dressed the part like we did. No suit and tie, no brill cream, no aftershave, puro indio, soft-spoken, khaki pants and a flannel shirt. Mixed blood. This is who we are. We are America.